Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching. I guess good night for some. We are in Parshas Va'era. That means we're discussing the 10 plagues. Welcome to the Divrei Torah series, weekly Parsha. There's certain stories that you think you know from when you're young, certain facts about the Torah stories, about certain events in Tanakh. We assume we know it, and the truth is sometimes we know it, and sometimes we don't know it fully. I challenge anyone to watch The Prince of Egypt. Not that I have time to watch all of it, but the bits that I've watched, mistake after mistake after mistake in terms of interpretation of the events in the story of the Exodus. So here's something that I think we all think we know, but let's give it a little bit of a twist. In fact, it's an amphibian or amphibious twist because it's about the frogs. We're going to learn a little bit about the plague of frogs. Of course, it's the second plague, but there's something interesting in terms of how the plague came about according to the view of Rabbi Akiva. So we're going to share the screen and I'm going to show you something interesting. Those who know Hebrew will appreciate this even more. All right, you'll see the screen over here, and it goes as follows. Vayem Hashem al Moshe. Hashem says to Moshe, Emar al Aaron, netes yadcha matecha, ala naros. Stretch out your hand over the various parts of Egypt, over the bodies of water, and bring up the frogs. Bring up the frogs. Vayet in verse 2, it says that Vayet Aaron es yado. So Aaron stretches out his hand al Meimei Mitzrayim, on the waters of Egypt. Vata'al hatzvardeya. And the frog arose. Now, tzvardeya is singular. Here they've translated it as plural. We'll see if that is correct or not. But the frog, singular, arises, goes up. Vatachas es eretz Mitzrayim. It covers the land of Egypt. Now, why are we referring to the frog here in the singular, tzvardeya? Note that in the previous pasuk verse, we've referred to it in the plural, which is how you'd expect it to be referred to as. Let's have a look at Rashi. Go Rashi. Perfect. Says the pasuk, I think we have too much fun here. Says Rashi, and the frogs came up, is literally the frog came up. That's what it says, one. It was one frog, and the Egyptians hit it, and it split into many swarms of frogs. Interesting. That is the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, as quoted in the Gemara. So we have one frog going up in Egypt, arising, revealing itself, if you like, being created. And then every time the Egyptians hit it, it swarmed, it split into other frogs, and then they were hit and more frogs, etc., until the land was full of it. Pause for thought. Why on earth do the Egyptians keep hitting the frogs? I mean, the shul, you can see Beit Mordechai, beautiful room, a sizable room. How many times would it take for this room alone to be full of frogs? If there was one frog that started, we'll make it a little bit big. Maybe it's an overweight frog. You hit it, it splits. More frogs come out. You hit it, that splits. More frogs and more frogs and more frogs. It takes hundreds of hits for, the room, let alone Stam or shul, to be full of frogs. Stop hitting the frogs already. Why are they hitting it? They can see what's happened. What are they doing? So I'd like to give you two different approaches. You can put them together maybe, but I think they're two lessons. Lesson number one goes like this. The Egyptians, says the Stipler Gaon, kept hitting the frogs because they were angry. In other words, when we get angry, we lose our sense of reason, of rational thought. They kept hitting the frogs. They were angry and angry and angry. Reason number one, very, very true. Shouldn't happen to any of us. Reason number two is that they were surprised. What that means is the Egyptians were so stubborn. They couldn't believe that their gods were being trumped by the God of the Hebrews. And therefore, every time they hit the frogs, they were surprised. Oh, it's coming. Another one's coming out. That was an exception. I can't believe it. It's not going to happen again and again and again and again. And they were surprised, genuinely surprised each time. They saw it as an exception instead of a rule. The truth is that is a general Egyptian problem. When you serve idols or foreign gods, you look at the world in terms of exceptions because there's no unifying force. When Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream at the beginning of Mikhates, the thing he says is that Pharaoh's dream is echad, it's one. He was the only one who created unity between the dreams, because as Jews, we give testimony to the fact the world is unified. There's one creator who connects everything, and everything happens under his dominion, good or, from the way we experience it, challenging. Amazing thing. But the truth is, I think there's perhaps another deeper point about the frogs that we should ponder about. And that is the following. Why did God create a self-creating plague? According to Rabbi Akiva, there was one frog. But why didn't he create loads? What was the point in getting the Egyptians to be masters of their own downfall? I think there's perhaps two very incredible lessons here. I'm sure there are many more. The first lesson goes like this. The whole problem with Egypt was that they were creating their own gods. You know, they felt the Nile is a god they effectively created. Okay, the water was there before, but they superimposed divinity onto the Nile. You know, other gods they had, whatever it was self-created. Hashem says, look, if you want to think that you can create everything, you can self-create everything, here's a plague that you're going to create about yourself. You know, there's a limit to human self-creation. Admit there's superiority from Hashem, admit it. That's lesson number one. Lesson two, the Egyptians felt their philosophical Weltanschauung, in other words, outlook on life, was that it's only actions that count. It's not emotions. It's only actions. You know, things that you do by accident, they don't, whatever. You know, they don't really count because it's about what, things you do by accident can be culpable because it's about not thoughts, but it's about what you do. It's all about action. What Hashem did is like this. First, he took away he hardened Pharaoh's heart. That was an element of removing thought. But he said, look, you think it's only about actions, not about emotion. I'm going to teach you how powerful emotion is. I'm going to teach you how powerful anger is, that it will create your own plague. A full person, a full individual, an individual who's wholesome, you know, who has genuine elements of human sensitivity, is both sensitive when it comes to actions and when it comes to emotion. Both are to be channeled, both are to be used. Everyone should have a Shabbat Shalom and a great week.